What's going on with XRP? Why is this token, as one of the very few, especially from the top 100, able to maintain levels close to its all-time high despite market corrections and consolidation in altcoins? And why isn't it dropping when the rest of the tokens are? Today, I will analyze the history of XRP and its price potentials for you. What might happen somewhere, and how this token simply correlates with the entire market. Is it worth continuing to buy it? Are there prospects for any further increases? And what would need to happen for XRP to reach the level of $10, or for other scenarios to come true? Scenarios that we will also describe today. Believe me, this video, presentation, and notes cost me a lot of work. A few people from my team also helped me with this, so I encourage you to appreciate this research. That's why subscribe to this channel and leave a thumbs up, because only then will there be more materials like this. I will be able to share with you the knowledge that I gather here over dozens of hours, often. And in such an hour of condensed material, I can then share it with you. So, this way, we develop the channel together, the subscription as it grows. So, let's check. Fifth, XRP. In terms of market capitalization, it also has a chance to surpass Terra and reach certain price levels in this cycle. So if you're interested in this topic, the pros and cons of this project, I invite you to this comprehensive analysis. On this slide, let's get straight to the point. I have compiled the price performance of the top 10 altcoins over the last 12 months. And who would have thought a year ago that XRP would be the growth leader in the current cycle? Because over this year, this token has risen by an impressive 500%, outclassing the rest of the top altcoins. Even Dogecoin made 350, Fana made 200, BNB 130, Cardano 103%, and Ethereum 44% over the past 12 months. So the question is, do the whales know something that we don't, right? There might be something to it, because looking at the sentiment chart, you can clearly see that large addresses holding between 1 million to 10 million XRP have been intensively accumulating them since last November. And since then, they have already bought 1.5 billion tokens from the market. And you have that, marked with the blue zone on this chart. You can clearly see how much these big players are buying each week and how regular these transactions are. Additionally, as an interesting note, I'll add that their activity has increased since the fourth quarter of last year, as illustrated by these bars here. Yellow orange. So it was pretty weak here, right? And from that last quarter 2.4, things really started happening again. There were some weaker weeks, but earlier, look, October, for example, almost nothing was happening, right? So we simply see that. This is one of the reasons. That influences the fact that these increases were impressive, that XRP made several 100% in just a few months. And, moreover, it maintains its levels. As if that wasn't enough, traders' interest in this token is reaching an all-time high. Look at the open interest, which is the number of open leverage positions, and it's huge, even higher in recent days, because XRP has never shown such values, and this indicates the extraordinary popularity of this token. For example, this open interest as a metric can warn us about very high price volatility, but it also generally reflects the interest in trading this token and a certain sentiment surrounding it. And thanks to these factors, XRP has become the third largest cryptocurrency in the world at present, with a market capitalization of $180 to $190 billion. Currently, one token costs $3.12, and a vertical green wall has literally appeared on the chart, which vividly shows how much capital has recently flowed into this project. Something similar, even on a larger scale, happened back in 2017 to 2018, right? No. At the turn here, when XRP shot up so strongly from levels even lower than now. Back then, it did several tens of X's. Now it has done a few, but it is still the second highest valuation of this cryptocurrency, simply in history, which indicates that in my opinion, and it continues, that this happened in November, in December, in such a broad range. Look, it is a negligible accent somewhere, that now we have had a month of consolidation in altcoins. If you zoom out, you can hardly see it. Here, yes, we dropped a bit on XRP as an example of this token, but the rest of the chart looks fantastic. We are practically at an all-time high. So, the question is it the end of the rise for XRP, or is this momentum completely overheated? And is there no room here for further growth, or is it quite the opposite? Is this the beginning of the dethroning of the altcoin leader, which is Ethereum? Or maybe Solana is at risk because XRP will be pushing through, as there is a battle between XRP, Solana, and Ethereum. These three tokens, which I'm showing on the screen now, have achieved different percentage growth values over the last 12 months. And there is a tendency that it's often better to invest in something that is growing. We have a greater chance that it will indeed continue to grow, but on the other hand, once it has grown, there is a higher risk that the correction will be stronger and that it is the end of the growth because, for example, the fuel has run out, so it's hard to find the golden compromise. That's why I do these analyses, to explain things a bit to you here. In the past, there was often discussion, some of the more experienced remember, about the flippening of Ethereum and Bitcoin, meaning that Ether would surpass Bitcoin in terms of market capitalization. But let's be honest, in this cycle, it's unlikely to happen, considering the condition of Ether. It may never happen. However, there are increasingly frequent speculations that it will be XRP that performs the flippening, but on Ethereum. If that were to happen, it would be a monumental signal, a change in the cryptocurrency market, and an additional blow to ETH. Because the last time the market valued XRP higher than Ethereum was in December 2018. By the way, take a look at those top 10 tokens from that time. As many as 6 of them dropped out of that group in just 7 years, which shows just how volatile the cryptocurrency market really is. And back then, you see, Ethereum was priced at $95, XRP was 31 cents, and Bitcoin was at $3,600. But Bitcoin Cash was only 4 to 5 times cheaper than it is now. Well, because back then it was very close to Bitcoin in terms of market capitalization, it was only 30 times smaller, and now you can check how it looks. Well, because now the market capitalization of Bitcoin Cash is about 220 times smaller than that of Bitcoin itself. But let's move on. Regarding the factors that have recently influenced the increase in the price of XRP, there are 2 of them. It's definitely the one battle. The battle with the SEC and the new administration in the commission, as well as new applications for creation. The spot ETFs on XRP significantly affect the price. Among others, this long-standing battle of Ripple versus the SEC is one of the most high-profile court cases in the history of the cryptocurrency market, because this very case, the Securities and Exchange Commission accused them in December 2020 of conducting an unregistered securities sale for their tokens. And this case was the main reason why XRP did not surpass its previous all-time high. In that bull market, when the market simply didn't want to invest due to fears that the token would plummet, and that American regulators would simply crack down on it. And now let's just take a look at the XRP chart. We will then realize just how huge an impact the change in the SEC's leadership had on the price, and previously people didn't want to invest in Ripple because they were afraid Gensler would destroy them. However, in November, everything changed by 180 degrees. Look at the course of these events. I know that Ripple is the company and XRP is the token, but I'll use them interchangeably just to avoid repetition. All the time, the token started to rise on November 5th, right after Trump's victory in the elections. And since that time, we've had a slight euphoria in the market. Many things were rising, and from that established low, XRP increased by 570%, where I closed my XRP at a 335% profit. I operate under the assumption that I bought at 59 cents, realized a 330% profit, approximately, sold there at 2.60 and some change. That's enough for me. I just don't have a position in XRP right now. If it dropped to a $50, $80, I would probably buy, because it would be much lower than the peak, the purchase price, but those 15 to 20% corrections didn't affect me that much. And simply, I didn't think I wanted to get back into it, because the range is too small, just from the moment of selling. I prefer to operate within a slightly broader range when it comes to the valuation of a token that I previously got rid of. So, if it goes to $5 to $10, it might happen. I never said that XRP is destined to fall. I was simply talking about taking profits, which is normal. There's nothing wrong with that, right? But the rest of the story. Over time, the market began to realize that after all, Trump announced in the summer, you probably remember that if he defeats Kamala Harris, he will fire the infamous Gary Gensler, who has been harassing the market for a long time. Crypto, and especially altcoins with XRP at the forefront, right? And Trump also added at that time that the new administration would be pro-cryptocurrency, help this market thrive, and create friendly regulations. And now look at this. From the 5th of November, just as these growth factors kicked in, the token increased by 120% in 15 days. At the local peak on November 16th, it was right here at 150%. And that's quite a decent result, but the biggest pump came later, and I'm showing you this. All to highlight the time frame and to show you this story, what, how, and why. And just move on to this stage. What happened here on November 21st? Because that's when Gary Gensler announced to everyone that he plans to step down as the head of the commission. And it just so happens that this is when the bigger pump started, not only on Ripple, but also on other tokens that were once heavily targeted by the SEC. And that's exactly what I was betting on. On November 12th, I also wrote on Arena that I see potential in this particular narrative. Even then, it was clear that Gensler's days were numbered. I remember that meme coins, with names like Gensler out, were also being created, and various mocking memes. So, I decided to bet on the pump in these baskets. This is my post from November 12th on Arena, and these posts, along with my mentoring content that I upload on Arena, will be available. These are my thoughts in the form of some posts that are not on KDP, not on YouTube. I will be posting these both on Arena and in mentoring, just as I have been doing so far. So, XRP itself has surged almost 400%. From November 12th to today, another token from this basket, namely Stellar, is currently over 260% up, and in the November peak, it was about 425%. Another example is Cardano, which is up 80% from November 12th to today, and at its local peak, it was up 140%, right? So there were other tokens from this narrative that performed well, but XRP, at the moment, it has definitely performed the best out of this basket of altcoins. It enjoys the most interest and simply doesn't have the entire market. At the end of these legal issues, it was waiting, which is why XRP shot up after several years of stagnation, where often many people assume that something is stagnant, something isn't growing, like Ethereum, right? That a similar situation as with XRP. Not quite the same, because the company did have some range over the last year, by several dozen nice percent, even almost 100, in one direction or the other. It would be hard in the other direction, but upwards. The declines were down to 50, let's say, from a specific value to 40. But it's simply about the fact that XRP was even more suppressed, leveraged, and extremely bored, and everyone was crying, cursing, saying that XRP. The comments were like those about Ethereum now, and then it broke out, right? So, once the crybabies sold out, and the people who simply got rid of the token had done so, there was no longer any supply pressure. There wasn't such a big push, and when demand came, many people didn't want to sell because they had been waiting for many years, internally, for that token to take off. Notice that despite being compared to a stablecoin for several years, and most people laughed at Ripple as a company, that's the most important thing. The key was that during this time, they were constantly in the spotlight. Simply put, right? There was a lot of talk. Indeed, in one way or another. They were exposed in many media conditions, and on many platforms that simply have reach, often negatively. But that's also a form of marketing. So no matter how weak the price action was, it's simply a project. It didn't dive in. Even during the March pump last year, when we barely broke 70 cents and the rest of the altcoins were doing much better than XRP. Ripple Army was, one of the most active. Many people were commenting, genuinely happy, and this project is still functioning. So wherever we looked, people were shilling XRP, maybe sometimes in a rather funny way. But in doing so, they attracted new investors. Here are some examples. In the end, it definitely helped with the pump that started in November. The token was mocked, and everything changed in about 2 weeks. The sentiment flipped 180 degrees from negative to extremely euphoric. The price started pumping. It was the best marketing for XRP, because people joined in on the FOMO and also started buying. A few events came together, and that caused the price to continue rising. And at the same time, Ripple returned to the podium. It is now the third largest cryptocurrency by market cap, but moving on, just look at the second issue. Because it also directly contributed to the price increase, which is the filing of applications to create XRP spot ETFs. You know how Bitcoin reacted back then, how Ethereum reacted. Sooner or later, when those applications were in play. And since the SEC approved the spot, Bitcoin ETF, these various investment funds started testing the waters, let's call it that, for new ETFs related to cryptocurrencies, and there are quite a few applications for XRP ETFs. Most of them on this first page are even based on this token, especially due to its size and also the volatility, which is appealing to many investors. So, not just one, but 9 applications have indeed been submitted by various funds. Also, based on leverage. So it was also possible to short this token. And these applications were in various forms, not just in the form of spot purchases, but also with some peculiarities. Some are trying to add leverage to all of this, the possibility of shorting, even some leverage. But simply, if these applications are accepted this year, then the new administration might favor this happening. So the narrative should be quite positive, or more positive than before, if this were to occur. Moreover, even before the launch of the spot version ETF, leveraged instruments might be introduced. For this altcoin, the well-known CME site, the Chicago Exchange for Big Players Using Leverage, suggested to us that futures contracts on Solana and XRP will be conducted, which could debut as early as February 10th, provided the necessary approval is obtained. It should also be noted that the CME Group has not yet issued an official statement on this matter. And up to the time of publication, it has neither confirmed nor denied the authenticity of the disclosed information. The applications for approval of ETF funds and futures products on cryptocurrencies have surged dramatically after Trump's election as president and Gensler's resignation. According to forecasts from Polymarket, we have a 71% chance for XRP. That ETFs will be approved in 2025, depending on the timing. So, it is quite a chance. But okay, you know the 2 main reasons why XRP has been doing so well over the last 3 months. But what else? Besides that, we currently know about Ripple's situation, what actions they have recently taken, and whether they have established any new interesting partnerships. So, here indeed. Among other things, they have released a stablecoin. I also encourage you to check out the material I recorded a few months ago regarding XRP, because there I also revealed an interesting story, technology, and the entire ecosystem. Today, this is an update after the increases. regarding what's happening. So in that video from the top right corner, if someone wants more, they can find it. There were 50 minutes of knowledge about it. One of the more favorite coins for many. And these two videos will allow you to understand 110% what the phenomenon of XRP is about. We have the stablecoin, Lust, launched at the end of the year. For now, it has a small capitalization compared to its competition. It's only $70 million. It is listed on smaller exchanges, but there are some further steps planned for global adoption. Right after the launch of this very Lust, Ripple announced a partnership with Chainlink as well. The collaboration was announced on January 7th. By design, of course, such phrases, it is meant to increase the adoption and utility of its stablecoin in applications. DeFi, so that's simply. In these decentralized finances, the entire ecosystem would be more feasible to implement, and for it to be used on a wider scale. This stablecoin is also tied to the US dollar, and will receive tamper-resistant and precise data from Chainlink through the Oracle technology that Chainlink uses, which means these oracles reduce the risk of manipulation, any downtimes, ensuring everything operates smoothly and automatically. Thanks to these bridges, such projects can make decisions without the manual involvement of third parties, which simply makes it work more like clockwork rather than an oiled machine. This also really hyped people up, the way the CEO of Ripple added a photo from a joint dinner with Trump. It's not known what the gentleman discussed, we don't know, but it's known that it fuels positive speculation about the close collaboration of this project with the new government. So, it's nice that something like this happened for those who invested in XRP. Until now, although Trump has recently been losing credibility and his term may not necessarily proceed so positively, I also have some small thoughts that this term of Trump's and all these pro-cryptocurrency proposals are increasingly turning into something like the apple. Here in the biblical parable, the poison one, that it's like a temptation. And it was supposed to be so beautiful, such a rural layer, that everything is pro-crypto, but it finally turns out that he often uses it for his own purposes. And that people are actually losing a bit of trust in the cryptocurrency market because they immediately get burned by it, right? And it's such a strong temptation to try it, to take something from it, to gain some financial benefits. But in the end, it turns out to be harder than they thought, or even impossible. So yes, it's all tempting, but it's not easy. This cycle is strange. Really, a lot of people lose their funds, just like always. But here, there are plenty of temptations lurking from every side, and they are usually traps. So generally, as you have probably noticed too, so far I have presented Ripple in a very favorable light. There was an increase in price, an increase in popularity as well, and an increase in hope for the approval of these spot ETFs. These are bullish factors, especially in the context of further costs in crypto, but some of them have already materialized. But not everything looks rosy. Let's move on to the on-chain data, because XRP has reached this enormous market capitalization recently, almost $200 billion. However, the numbers regarding adoption or the utility of the blockchain itself do not follow. Because on-chain, we can see here that, for example, on DeFi Llama, we have the fact of what? Total value locked. It's just now, and it's slightly over $80 million, which is really a microscopic amount for the DeFi world. That's very little compared to much smaller networks. In this regard, XRP is indeed lagging. The volume is microscopic. And besides that, the number of active addresses for a network with such a large market capitalization remains much to be desired. But indeed, since last year, even since last quarter, the statistics have increased, and that's a positive. We currently have approximately 67,000 RIPs on the network, active addresses daily. However, compared to smaller blockchains, this number is small. Take a look at how many active addresses there are in other places. On Solana, on Tron, there are millions, not tens of thousands. So there was a bit of a spike earlier, but now it's dropped to 67,000. For example, Solana has a much larger number of active addresses. Here. For instance, SUI even has over 700,000, TON has 200,000, so these are all higher values. So for now, this global adoption doesn't necessarily go hand in hand with price increases and speculative bubbles, which is forming on XRP. And this also needs to be kept in mind, because perhaps XRP is a much more overvalued project than many think, especially after a 500% increase recently. There is also a form of promoting this project as a space for cross-border payments. The narrative is that even countries are supposed to use XRP, that they are supposed to do it. Large institutions, central banks, but is Ripple really necessary for them? Let's consider this objectively. Well, so far, honestly, nothing indicates that, in O statistics adoption app, the state-level adoption is currently extremely limited. One of the exceptions is Japan, where the banking sector shows significant interest in this technology, as reports suggest that by the end of 2025, up to 80% of Japanese banks plan to integrate XRP into their payment systems, and this economy is arguably the fourth largest in the world. We have the United States, we have China, we have Germany, and indeed, then the fourth is Japan, and, well, this is definitely something big, because in Japan, simply a lot of these funds are in this space, circulating. But of course, outside of adoption by other countries, everything is less advanced. For example, BRICS countries are considering alternatives to the US dollar in international trade. However, there are currently no specific plans to adopt XRP. In fact, some of these countries are even showing more interest in Bitcoin as a settlement method. And imagine that. Imagine that China, Russia, or Iran would use Ripple for payments when the project is strongly associated with the USA. Well, I doubt it. Especially when it's not in their interest, right? So, as you can see, just on a national level, outside of Aponia, the widespread implementation of this technology is not yet common. So, to summarize, this stage, this chapter, XRP has the potential to improve cross-border payments, but the actual physical adoption is at a low level. Alright, but despite the existence of these red flags, the XRP community and investors are not deterred by their belief in the Dalshon project, because when it comes to the community, it is huge and known for its dedication to this project. I don't want to offend this community, but what I mean is that a lot of investors are in love with XRP, and they are waiting for unrealistically high valuations. Some people are detached from reality, unfortunately, hoping for $50, $100, $500 because someone told them, or because of some clips from The Simpsons, like the ones you see on the screen, or something else happened. Some big valuations out of nowhere. But when you do the math, simple math, which I also explained in the video yesterday with the Q&A, if someone hasn't seen it, then the day before yesterday, I invite you to check it out here in the top right corner. It's pinned. Check out the latest video on the channel. I answered 35 different questions that were most frequently asked. Old season, old coin, XRP, Solana, Ethereum, there are many different topics, so check it out. And no matter what anyone says, you know, whoever might be in such a frenzy, in such a sect, more or less, because most people are. Totally normal, like you watching, you're curious, but you know, some are just extremely bullish, so extreme. This is a positive aspect for the token, because that's what crypto is about. A bit, right? The more people are dedicated, the more people don't sell, the harder it is for the token to drop. Besides everything I've said, let's also play around with price predictions now. Where might the price of XRP go in the near future? Is the sky really the limit? Or do we still have room for further growth? When should we sell? So, you like these price speculations. In the case of XRP, they are based on what we know, what we've seen, how the token has behaved, the market outlook, and some estimations and calculations. This might stir up some emotions, but I'll try to simply analyze this price chart and draw some conclusions from it. So, it's known that with XRP, this is difficult. Ripple has had a complex history from the start, full of ups and downs. There are many external factors that we won't foresee and that correlate with this price. And I shaped this in the past. Let's look, for example, at the price action in the previous bull market. It's also important to note here that the fate of the token was simply completely different than in the case of other altcoins, because in December 2020 year, like a blow from the sky, it practically falls on the project. The news that the SEC is suing Ripple for selling unregistered securities. It was a tough moment for investors. A 65% correction from 51 cents. Here, we dropped to 17, and previously XRP was at 80. Here, during the declines, there was also a delisting on Coinbase because they simply couldn't due to the issues. It seemed like the end of XRP, that nothing would come of it, but a month passed, 2 months passed, and then it happened. Price discovery. Once again, and the recovery of that price. Like a phoenix from the ashes. The project stood still. In the ongoing season, the highest of the year 2021. It ultimately experienced a significant increase of 800% over 4 months, and at its peak, it reached almost $2. Price action. At that time, it was very difficult to estimate and hard to make accurate predictions. Many had already written off the token as a loss due to the SEC stance, yet XRP managed to rise significantly. On the other hand, when most of Bitcoin peaked in November 2021, the token, Ripple itself was unable to surpass its all-time high, although many were counting on it. Also, Ripple, it was different from many Bitcoin in another aspect. For example, in 2021, it did not surpass its previous all-time high from 2018, which most of the competition managed to do at that time. It simply didn't happen in the previous cycle. And looking at the weekly chart, it might even seem that XRP's records have become the cryptocurrency equivalent of Halley's Comet. For example, right? They appear once every half decade, literally, right? Every 5 years there are some peaks, mega, strange. And in the crypto world, that's just an eternity, where now we've barely touched the all-time high, compared to 2017, from 8 years ago. Let's say. But this event, now, the 3.38, from the last few days, leaves a lot of ambiguity. Well, because as it turns out, it wasn't exactly the highest price of XRP in history. I'll explain to you why, and how it looks. Because as you can see on this chart from Bitstamp, yes, we did actually surpass the ATH this year, but according to the influential and widely read magazine Fortune, here indeed the ATH for XRP was 3.84, not less. So, different sources provide different values, depending on where we look. Calm reports 3.40, meaning the ATH has not yet been surpassed, because some aggregators consolidate valuations from different exchanges and take into account capitalization, volumes, and weight. Let's say the given exchange and the average valuation, while some do not. Ripple's CTO David Schwartz adds his 2 cents to this whole confusion. And he firmly stated in his latest post on X that XRP never really reached the price 3.84 in 2018, and this price was allegedly reached only briefly on South Korean exchanges, which at that time imposed a high premium on many leading cryptocurrencies, including Bitcoin and XRP, and the market liquidity was so low that only a few were able to trade XRP at such prices. Or precisely because on these Asian exchanges, only some of them, due to internal liquidity, were separated from external events. It simply drove the prices higher because more people, for example, in Asia wanted to buy XRP and not sell locally, and that's why the price went higher, which sometimes provoked arbitrage. So as you can see, I have a very challenging task when it comes to forecasting future prices. All these divergent data, different sources, and opinions simply make the attempt to determine one specific value is like trying to catch smoke with bare hands. Simply put, as a result, any price forecast for XRP is based on rather uncertain foundations, because even the history of its record values is full of contradictions. Furthermore, I want to clarify once and for all on my channel one important issue that is occasionally repeated by Ripple enthusiasts. The topic is hotly debated on the internet. And around all of this, many myths and legends have arisen, right? Because one of the most persistent is the one concerning the alleged prediction by the Simpsons series, according to which XRP was supposed to reach the level of $589. Many Ripple enthusiasts have been citing this prophecy for years, claiming that the Simpsons have previously predicted other important events, such as Donald Trump's presidency, to Nobel Prize winners. But in this case, are we dealing with an authentic prediction of the future or an internet hoax? Well, it's hard to say, really. The story started circulating online a few years ago when an alleged screenshot from an episode of The Simpsons appeared. We just see here, right? Bart writing that XRP will reach 589 by the end of the year, But it sounds spectacular. However, this episode never existed. That's crucial. There is no scene in The Simpsons where such an XRP price is predicted. Simply put, after thoroughly checking the episode archives, it turns out we are dealing with a key internet scam, with a fabricated image that spread on social media and crypto forums. So no, there is no such prophecy, and don't believe in it. And XRP will not reach such a price level. Never. Price levels of $100 and above, or even $50 and above, are not realistic for XRP. This is fake news, at least not in this cycle, nor in the next one. I don't think that's the case. Simply put, to understand this, let's go back to the basics. Cryptocurrency valuations. Simply put, the price of each token results from relatively simple assumptions and formulas that connect the number of coins in circulation with their market capitalization. And these are the two metrics that determine what the real growth forecasts are and whether a given price level actually has a chance to materialize, considering the total number of units in circulation and the capitalization. Ripple simply at $500. That is an unimaginably large, unattainable market capitalization. You know, capitalization is the value of all units of a given cryptocurrency. We calculated using a simple formula. Just remember, it doesn't matter how much a token costs until you know how many units are in circulation. It doesn't matter if it's 0, 0, 0, whether 6 tokens are billions, millions, or trillions. It doesn't matter, and this often tempts new people, because something is cheap, that's why it grows. There is a tendency, it's statistical, that more tokens are growing. Often those that don't cost $1, but cost less. and they often have higher percentage values during the alt season because they are more tempting to new investors. There's something interesting about that. But simply, if Ripple were to reach $500, multiplying that by the number of tokens in circulation, which is 57 billion, at the moment, it would mean needing 29 trillion, and market capitalization, which is about 8 times, more than the entire market. Crypto taken solely from Bitcoin. So how do we have it now? 3.8 trillion, so. And B, Bitcoin has 2.1, so. Going further, the capitalization of the 5 largest companies in the world. Taken together, it's only 15 trillion, which is half of what would be needed. So, for XRP to reach $589, hypothetically, to dispel these doubts, it would need to have a greater market value than the entire economy of the USA and Europe combined. This is unrealistic, and you should get it out of your head, but in the world of cryptocurrencies, it's worth sticking to the facts. Just steer in this direction, not myths. Therefore, instead of basing your investments on fictional prophecies, let's check how it looks from the technical analysis side. For example, here's the weekly chart. We see an impressive increase of 500%. Congratulations if someone accumulated at 40, 50, 60 cents. We have an almost vertical green candle going up. And now seeing such a chart, well, it lights up in my mind. A light bulb. That investing at this stage is risky, right? That if someone is just entering, it's not historically the best time to invest in XRP. Those moments were when the price was lower. I'm not saying that Ripple won't grow 2 or 3 times more, but simply, the investment risk is high here, and in my opinion, one should rather focus on how to exit the token and realize profits after each additional dollar of return. If you bought it cheaper rather than accumulating at this moment, well, a token can always grow, but historically, it usually ended badly if someone entered after several 100% growth in something that achieved then in a few months. Well, I bought at 56.59 cents, sold at 2.62, and I also mentioned that you could buy back at $1.92. I didn't do it myself. I just walked away from the table. Satisfied. Not fully satiated, but that's often enough for me. The fun has come to an end for now. The price increase is even more possible. We are waiting for the decision regarding ETFs. Here are the dates, marked as well. Also those from February, as I mentioned. This speculation could pump the price up, but if XRP is going to pump, what prices can we reach? That's the main question. What market capitalization can XRP achieve in this cycle? I'll show you now. So here in front of you is a chart showing the returns from this token in those cycles. And we will use 2 charts to estimate this. So here on the screen, you have the returns of the entire cryptocurrency market and simply the growth, how it looked in previous cycles. Back then, it made 6,000%, the entire crypto market, then 1,200. Here we are still in the phase of this discovery. We haven't yet reached any meta values. Hypothetically, let it be 240% up, right at the level of $7 to $8 trillion. And here, the XRP dominance chart will also come in handy soon. So, this is a 1-month chart. Total cap, whatever such a cryptocurrency market capitalization. I marked the halvings with golden lines for you, and according to historical patterns, the crypto market grows after a halving. Let's assume that's how it will be, right? So we have the principle of diminishing returns here as well. From halving to halving, the market grows less and less because it is getting bigger, and more people already know about it and have money in it, so there's no such moment. So after the halving in 2016, the crypto bull market grew by 6,000%. After the 2020 halving, to the peak, it was already 5 times less, at 1,200. And how difficult is it to predict what will happen? This time, it's safe. I assume here, I think that in this cycle we will also grow 5 times less than before. Hence, I assume a growth to the peak of 240% from the halving. And that would give us levels around 5.5 to 6.5, $7 trillion, right? Let's make it 7 to keep it positive. So now let's calculate the capitalization, potential Ripple, and use historical patterns from the XRP dominance chart, which is the dominance of Ripple in the market. I have marked on the chart here the levels that XRP has broken through in the past. If something happened in the past, then there's a chance it will happen again. So it's possible that XRP could reach at least 7.5% market dominance. 10% and 13% were 2 frequently highlighted key levels, which were maintained for some time, and at that point, XRP could be sold. However, this happened in previous years and only now, based on the last 6 years. We have for the second time a situation where we can re-enter this lowest range, and hypothetically, where you see the mouse and color go higher, where now XRP's market cap is at a level that corresponds to about 5% of the market. So hypothetically, it could reach 13% and the market could potentially double, where then XRP would go up quite significantly. And now, let me explain how it would work. With XRP's dominance at 7.5%, Ripple's market cap would be around $525 billion and the price would be about $9. Possible? I think it's realistic, right? Simply, purely mathematically. With a dominance level of 10%, Ripple's market cap would be around $700 billion and then one token would cost about $12. Well, this scenario is unlikely, but not impossible. With a dominance level of 13%, XRP's market cap would be around $900 billion, which would mean about $16 per token. Well, a very unlikely scenario, but still possible. It's possible that we could get there, that the market could double, and we would have $16 per XRP token. There's a chance of a few, maybe a dozen percent at most. And keep in mind, simply, that this token has already experienced huge increases, that we have an anomaly, something that hasn't happened in years. There haven't been such large 3-month candles on this chart. There were times when there were huge monthly candles, where dominance increased 2 or 3 times within a month, but supposedly there's room for growth. But you have to remember that counting on another 5-fold increase is risky, and you might hold on too long. And these are the scenarios that I have outlined and shown you here, regarding how exactly, at least in terms of market cap dominance and XRP itself, the valuation profile of this token could look like this. Ripple has also come very close in market capitalization to its competitor, Ethereum, because XRP is pumping, while Ethereum is standing still now. So, is the flippening mentioned at the beginning of the video, where XRP surpasses ETH, possible? Let's check it out. I generally, subjectively, believe it is possible, but unlikely. Because for this flippening to occur, in a hypothetical situation, XRP's market cap would have to grow by about 125%. This would give a price of around $7.15 per XRP, but Ethereum would have to remain stagnant. So, is it possible? At the peak of a bubble, definitely. However, for flippening to occur in such a situation, Ethereum's market cap wouldn't grow at all and the price would remain stagnant. So, I doubt that the entire crypto market would grow while Ethereum stayed in place, because that would be an extremely negative situation, which is also possible, as we described in the video about Ethereum. They give it a slight chance, but it is the least likely scenario, in my opinion, that Ethereum won't surpass its all-time high out of the 4 scenarios, one of which even suggests it could reach $12,000 by the end of this year. Still in this cycle, which I have described everything about on the channel. I also have a certain problem with stating that XRP is a better investment choice than Ethereum itself, especially if we look at it from a perspective of several years, not just this cycle. Like a bird's eye view. Well, here's the key problem. I'll explain it to you now. Because the last all-time high for XRP happened so long ago, in 2018, its new all-time high now has to be significantly higher than it was back then, in order to. Besides the nominal value, also accounting for inflation and the increase in the price of Bitcoin and the entire market. Realistically adding returns, especially for people who bought here. And there was still a 4th factor here, which I'll add, an alternative basket, meaning you could have had those funds in something else that yielded a higher percentage and better results, not to mention the loss of dollar value and the passage of time and missed opportunities. So simply, what was worth in 2018? 3.40. Today, considering CPI inflation, would correspond to $4.25, so the actual all-time high at the level of 3. The 30-something back then. Well, now it would be over $4, right? And only then, hypothetically, would XRP surpass that all-time high, so it would have to increase by another 25%, 30-something percent, to actually now, in this inflation-adjusted view, surpass its all-time high. And that's actually positive news because it adds growth momentum for XRP at the moment when people come to their senses and consider that, hey, it might not be that expensive yet, right? Because for long-term investors, this means that holding XRP for many years doesn't necessarily yield real profits if its price doesn't rise significantly above previous levels. All-time high. Inflation also causes the value of the dollar to decrease, so as long as the price of XRP is below $4.25, its purchasing power will be lower than in 2018. And if we look at XRP pairs, in relation to Bitcoin and Ethereum, the situation looks much worse. Despite nearly a 500% increase over the past year, XRP is still far behind. In relation to ETH and Bitcoin, take a look, XRP to USD, that's this, XRP to Bitcoin, that's this, and XRP to Ethereum. That's this purple chart here. We have this pair. So I'm just explaining to you how it works. Since the launch of Ethereum in 2015, XRP has lost as much as 64% of its value against it and 42% compared to Bitcoin, counting from the beginning of its history back in 2013. So, taking a broad and long-term perspective, Bitcoin and Ethereum have been better solutions, and better, more secure investments. And also much more predictable, because technically, many things have proven themselves. So as you can see, despite the huge growth recently and the big hype, investors had to wait a long time for any reasonable profits from this altcoin, and even more so. In the long term, it was simply more profitable for them to hold Ethereum or Bitcoin. So as I already answered here, yes, a lot of XRP's price action will, in short. There are certainly some chances for increases, even significant ones, but you need to approach playing this position sensibly, because we've already seen large increases, and you simply can't have your head in the clouds here. You need to be prepared for many situations, for example, entering these positions with tight stop losses. Buy back lower when there's a correction. Don't let yourself get wiped out. Don't buy at the peak and lose 30% in a correction, which we don't know when it will happen. Buy in several tranches, for example. In this range, in this range, in this, right? Additionally, when we look at the chart from a broad perspective, so, if we bought on average, then XRP at a level, for example, $2.20, well, at the moment, if the scenario of going to $6 to $7 played out, then we would indeed have a 200 to 200 something percent profit, which would probably be a greater profit than on Bitcoin and Ethereum, which will perform this year. That's why, the perspective is, as you can see, we can go up, but we need to approach this wisely. It's better to earn less and have fewer XRP than to rely on fate, hoping that luck will make us rich. Also, when we look at XRP from a broader perspective, there's no cycle, no pattern to refer to, right? Apart from those Halley's Comets and some spikes from SBK every half decade, we simply won't see any cyclical patterns. There's no talk of any seasonality like with Bitcoin or Ethereum. Besides that, we also can't use the law of diminishing returns, because in this cycle XRP has already reached values higher than the previous bull run, so it doesn't apply here. This is also one of the tokens whose price performance is highly dependent on regulations, and simply strong marketing and positive momentum. Here, we don't rely on increasing total value locked, growing user activity, or increasing network revenues during price predictions. That's why predicting exactly where XRP will go is practically impossible, because it depends on a multitude of factors. Many of them we don't even know about. I don't know either, but I showed you what was possible, and what would happen if specific values were achieved and what we need for that. So as I was saying, to summarize a bit, another 100, 200, 250% increase in XRP is possible, but it would be better to buy it at $2, 2 and some change, rather than, for example, at 3.50, which might soon break out. These bullish catalysts can outweigh the limited utility. Ripple, because the community is dedicated. You also need to realize that in this case, the increases were driven mainly by pure speculation, not because XRP suddenly became the most used chain, because as I showed you, on-chain it is not like that at all. I also showed you that when it comes to the main, fundamental metrics, Ripple is far behind. Behind Ethereum, Solana, BNB, or even Sway and Ton. And kudos to those who took advantage of these increases and made a profit. They came out unscathed, often cashing in. I was one of those people, and I'm selling my entire position in XRP, currently. But if the bull market continues, then a lot of people will still make money on XRP, because their army is constantly growing stronger, and it should develop nicely. Almost every day I see a new shiller, a new promoter somewhere, hyping XRP, saying that XRP will change the world and surpass Bitcoin. And while you can certainly be devoted to a cryptocurrency, I've been burned by that myself more than once, so it's better not to go overboard with it. Well, it's known that Bitcoin is the most fundamentally positively constructed cryptocurrency that exists. You can believe in it, you can invest in it for many years. What will happen with XRP? It's unknown. And you know, simply put, if in the coming months Trump is supposed to attract more novice investors to the market with his policies, then surely some of them will buy Ripple, because they'll see it's one of the largest cryptocurrencies, because something about the States, lots of moon boys, lots of new people, they like such things. And in the end, fundamentals aren't that important. Simply put, marketing and an engaged community are much more important. Ripple has both of these things, which is why I believe that levels of $5 to $10 are realistically possible by the end of this cycle, and maybe even a few tens of dollars in an extremely positive situation. No more. I don't allow for it to cost more. I don't plan on buying Ripple anymore unless a strong correction comes, then I'll let you know. I've made quite a bit of money on this token in this cycle. Now I'm just looking for opportunities elsewhere, so I'm positioning myself in tokens that haven't grown as much as Ripple. Take care. Bye.